Happy 30th of December to all who celebrate, and welcome to the Best of 2021 episode. Once again, as last year, Fran and I have each picked our top 10 songs of the year, and we also discuss our highlights and lowlights of 2021 musically. I had a truly horrendous cold when I recorded this, and I have to shout out my co-host Fran for doing a very good job to cut it out. I guess if I was feeling positive, I say I sound a little bit sultrier than usual. So there we go. A treat for those who appreciate that. Or alternatively, I sound very snotty and I apologize. We will be back at the end. In fact, Fran will be back at the end to tell you where to follow us, where to rate us. And we hope that you enjoy our wrap up of the year.
Oh, hang on. Yeah, what are we calling this podcast?
Was it over underrated?
Over underrated. Sous-évalué. Überschätzt. Överunderskattad. Over underrated.
Right. It's another over underrated music podcast episode with Fran and Babs. I am Babs. So how are you doing today, Fran?
Well, the UK is under attack from another disease, but let's not talk about COVID anymore. I have just seen my final gig of the year. We're going to talk about the band later on, so I may chat about that when we get to that point. But I did go to see the Philharmonic Orchestra doing Christmas movie theme tunes in London, which is very Christmassy, and it had a school choir, so I could hear the full Home Alone soundtrack with the la 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 sort of stuff happening.
Wow, amazing. What venue?
The Royal Festival Hall as well. Perfect.
Very nice.
Perfect, yeah. So I had a great weekend. How about yourself, Babs?
I also had a lovely weekend. I escaped to the Belgian countryside, escaped Brussels city life. However, I went there and came back with a lovely cold that you can hear and some excruciating lower back pain, which really makes me feel like I have hit my mid-30s. Nonetheless, I am armed today with notes and tea and need to talk about music, especially the music of 2021, which is today's special theme. Following on from our episode last year of Best of 2020.
Indeed. And I'm sure you guys have heard it. If not, check it out on where you find podcasts.
I don't know about you, but I felt that this was a good year for music. I feel like that's a bit of a pointless thing to say in a way, because you can always find good music every year. And given that we're recording this after Spotify Wrapped has happened, it's been interesting to me that my listening habits this year on Spotify have been a lot less open-minded than last year. I think I had a ridiculous amount of genres. This year it's been really a lot of rock. But yeah, I got into two bands, DZ Death Rays and Let's Eat Grandma, that I won't be talking about today, but maybe in a future episode. I think yeah, there was some really good new artists and really good releases from old artists. And whittling down the list was really, really tough. How do you feel 2021 was as a year in music?
I think through my... It's hard to say that, because so basically I don't listen to radio anymore. Mm-hmm. So it's hard for me to always know what is popular in the zeitgeist. So when I make this playlist, I basically just... I go on Wikipedia and look at what albums came out and check those out. I then go on Metacritic and listen to their top 200 and then work out what I should listen to. And I then have a couple of playlists, and I go through and listen to as many as I can. And then whilst I'm listening, I just like certain tracks. And then it turns out that some of those are the biggest artists of the year. Every November, when I make these playlists, is when I basically discover what happened in the year.
Yeah.
I've noticed there's a lot of young artists, which is pretty cool. I've noticed a death of a lot of the indie bands I liked. So, when I was 21, the charts was a lot of indie bands, and now I can probably name 6 bands, mainly 6 new indie bands.
I just think they're not as mainstream, right? It's like the conversation we had with Ben Hampson, where he's producing a lot of very good rock bands. It's just that they're not household names in the same way that I think they would have been. With the exception of Blood Red Shoes.
I've listened to maybe 100 indie songs this year, and maybe 4 or 5 got onto my playlist.
Yeah, I think with me, looking at my genre, so my top 5 genres, hilariously, the top one was new rave, which I'm like, really? Was I just listening to Klaxons nonstop? I don't think so. It was new rave, new wave, dance pop, indie rock, and garage rock. That was my top 5. And I think for the past 3 years, I had hip hop as 5th, and that's gone. So actually, I feel like I'm doing almost the opposite of what the young kids are doing, which is getting kind of stuck in my groove. I do think that most of the rock songs that I have saved and that I enjoyed are heavier rock, rather than, let's say, more traditional indie rock or Britpop-esque. Although one of yours is definitely in that category. I think I did a similar method to you. So the way I whittled down my list was I went on Spotify and went through all the songs I'd saved in 2021, which were from 2021. Then I visited, the Release Radar playlist on Spotify. And that took me down a rabbit hole because I don't look at it anymore very often because it's just too much. Like I think it always has like 200 artists in there. And I did discover more through that. It just made my life more difficult. But yeah, I think I only discover new music at the moment if, for example, I follow them on Bandcamp and then Bandcamp sends me an email about it, or from our social media accounts, from our podcast social media accounts, people write updates on it, or I see it on Twitter. Like I don't actively seek out music news as much as I did before, definitely. I feel like my Spotify broadly matches what I listen to, but some people say that it misses some stuff out, so who knows?
Yeah, I don't think personally that my Spotify playlist is what I've been listening to in 2021, to be fair. And is it true that the cutoff was like in November? Because
October 31st.
Well, in that case, I listened to more music in November than I did all of the year. So cool. So it's basically the podcast is basically what my Spotify rap is. So
this year we've done what we did last year, which was to pick our 10 favorite songs of the year. And because it was such a difficult task, I personally decided not to include any really big artists and most bands that we've mentioned before in any kind of meaningful capacity. And I think you set yourself some targets as well, right, Fran?
Yeah, so there's some bands that I want to hold out for a proper episode with.
Ditto.
And then, some it's because I have listened to them loads, so I got to include them. And some because of we've never spoken about them before. I doubt we will again, so let's give them some time. So it's not necessarily my 10 favourite songs of the year. It could have been many other different bands, but on that day I chose these 10. And I'm looking forward to discussing. I still miss making my CDs at the end of the year, but the world moves on, unfortunately.
Indeed. I keep saying that it's going to be soon that I'm going to invest in a record player, and I've inherited all my mum's vinyls, but they're all at my dad's house, and he's like, can you please buy a record player so I can fucking give you all these records taking up space? So that might be a 2022 plan. Let's see. It
is an open goal Christmas gift. I'm surprised no one has even considered giving me a vinyl player, but I'm kind of happy because I can't afford to buy all my. I can't afford.
If you message us, maybe we can give you Fran's PayPal and you can contribute to a vinyl player for Fran.
But it's not just that, is it? It then opens a whole world of me having to buy all my favourite albums on vinyl. And
I know exactly. I know exactly how you feel, but I feel like we are very much in a minority here because I think some people really like vinyl because of the whole process of it. Like, oh, you open it up and I'm like, can I just fucking listen to the music, please? Thank you. I do like, looking at the artwork and reading the lyrics booklets. Sure. And I mean, on a vinyl, it's definitely much bigger. But recently, as previously mentioned, DZ Death Rays, I bought their album Black Rat and I bought it on CD. And when you open it, it like has a little cutout of rats. And it's just like, yeah, you can still have these nice effects on CD, and it doesn't have to involve me having a thought about needles or anything else, and I can enjoy my time. But there we go.
I mean, there's a cynical part of me thinking, do all you guys that own vinyl actually sit down in the lounge and just listen to vinyl, or do you buy it and then put on Spotify and walk around like everyone else does?
I think they do. I mean, some people, I absolutely believe it and they do it properly. I would say like Ryan from the Broken Record Player podcast, who on his Instagram account. He's always changing the layout of how his vinyls look, so it looks impressive. And he's doing his countdown of his favorite 80s albums, and he's displaying them and putting them on. Him, I can believe it. He's a good guy, Ryan. However, I believe there are some absolute cunt nuggets is what comes to mind at the moment. I don't know why. Pretentious twats.
A vinyl for Instagram and then Spotify behind the scenes, I think.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people. So, we have done a lot of tangents.
We have. Who knows how many will be in this episode?
Over underrated best of 2021.
So, we have my first artist for no particular reason. We have Torres. I had never heard of her until October this year, guys. And it turns out she's been around for a while, so that's how cool I am. And I have chosen her song, Don't Go Putting Wishes in My Head. I just thought this was the sort of pop song that I love. It's like a infectious, mature pop. It has a beautiful synth underlayer, and then throughout it brings in sprinkles of like her guitar, and then you get more backing vocals. And I just after like 30 seconds, I pressed heart because this is me all over. And then the more I listened to it, the more I loved it. And then doing some research, turns out she recorded it in the UK last autumn, which sounds absolutely insane because weren't Americans banned from the UK? So I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, and I'll come back to that because I think she was stranded in Europe at the beginning of COVID, yeah.
And she made the album with Rob Ellis, and he turns out he's like the guy for all of the female singer-songwriters.
PJ
like,
Harvey,
Bat for Lashes, and those, yeah. So, and he co-wrote the song, so I think he also must be a pretty decent guy. I was shocked when I did some research, because for some bizarre reason, I assumed she was Scandinavian. And I listened to a lot of Scandinavian playlists, so I thought, oh, maybe I got this from one of those. So when I found out that she's American, I was like, oh, really? That doesn't make sense to me. But I've now listened to other songs by her, and I think this is quite different to a lot of her other work. This is a lot more electronic than anything else I've heard, just flicking through the old Spotify. So, Babs, I know that you know her, but tell me more.
Yeah, so I not only do I know her, I have seen her live. I saw her live at a concert when I had a broken leg and had to sit on a chair, but it was still a fun experience. I think I sent you Splinter by her, which is a completely different sound, much more moody, much more guitar oriented. So when I saw that you'd put Torres on, I was really pleasantly surprised because I was like, oh, I didn't even realize that she had a new album out. And I follow her and her wife, Jenna Gribben, who's in the music video to this song on Instagram. And Jenna is an artist, and Mackenzie Torres features quite heavily in her work. And I was really surprised because it is basically pure synths, like a bit of guitar coming in every now and again, but not as much. And what I love about Torres is her voice. I think her voice is unique and really meaningful. But while I like her voice on here, I'm not such a big fan of this more synthy direction. I can totally see why you like it. And I've tried to kind of listen to it. I listened to it the first time I was going through making notes, and then listening to it again, divorcing it from the fact that it's Torres, just trying to see it more purely as a song. And I think I enjoyed it more when I wasn't expecting something else, basically. But yeah, in a way, it doesn't surprise me that she's gone in this direction at all, right? I think when many guitar-oriented acts often try and become a bit more experimental, this is her fifth album. Makes sense.
Yeah, but I've got a feeling that it may only be the single, which is this direction.
I was going to ask, have you listened to the album?
Yeah, I checked out a few other singles from, and yeah, so I think this is her most electronic track, which may be lucky because obviously I'm a big fan of electronic music.
But yeah, do you like her voice? Because I truly love her voice.
To me, she sounds like she's Swedish.
Yeah, but I was going to say she looks Scandinavian. She's blue-eyed and has blonde hair. It doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me that you thought that. But I think because I knew Splinter, which is all about the pastor, the church, like all these very Southern American themes, which I think she is from the south of the US. I didn't associate it as that, but she's been quite prolific because she's released 5 albums in a very short space of time, and despite not being a particularly huge fan of the song, I will still go and listen to she's one of those people where I will always dip into what she has to do and take the time to explore.
But yeah, I just don't think she's done a lot in the UK. Maybe she's bigger in America, because I'm surprised I've never heard of her.
I think I came across her through God's Jukebox. I think it was other people posting about her, British or not. I don't remember. She is one of those acts where she was very good live. She was very good live. But I think she is one of those acts that's not an album act for me. It is a kind of individual song one. And yeah, to come back to it, I think she was on a European tour in February 2020 or March 2020. And if I remember correctly, she had to crowdfund to come back to the US because it was looking really, really difficult. So yeah, I'm glad for her that she managed to come to the UK in October and not get stuck again, because yeah, it doesn't sound fun.
But yeah, so what's your pick?
So my first pick is the intriguingly titled Hard Billy by the French artist Léonie Pernet. So I know exactly how I discovered her. I discovered her because she is the top related artist for Charlotte Adigéry, who was our pick in the Best of Belgium. She's still there. I checked. She still is the top one. So thank you for basically putting, women of color making weird electronic music together, because that is clearly a genre that I like. I don't think they're that related, but there we go. And she's a very interesting woman. So she's from Paris. She plays lots of instruments. She's gay. She's Muslim. And one of the, I did some deep research on her in a way that, frankly, I hadn't until doing this podcast. But there was this nightclub in Paris called Pulp, which was apparently quite pivotal for her. And they were trying to move away from French touch a little bit, which, like the Daft Punk stylings that were big in the capital. And there was this label called Kill the DJ that she started on, as well as this artist called CAR, which I'd completely forgotten about, and I went to listen to as well. I chose it because so this is from her new album, Le Cirque de Consolation, The Circus of Consolation. I knew about her songs before. I think this is a step up. I like the whole album. I think this is a highlight. It's a really unusual song. There's like electronics, thumping drums, and she's there in this kind of, her voice is kind of indifferent somehow, and I just think it blends really well together. She says it's burning rain, it's burning now. It's very evocative, simple, haunting. Bandcamp recently picked this album as one of their albums of the day, and they talk about epic soundscapes, blending pop melodies, synths, West African drums. I think it's throwing a lot, everything in the kitchen sink at a song, but for me it works. And I don't know if you've seen the video, Fran, but it's this collection of West African mask dancers. It's really out there. So I didn't think you'd love this one, but I thought you might be intrigued by it at least.
Yeah, the video was not what I was expecting at all.
At all, right?
But some great cosplay ideas, though, for anyone who wants to dress as a bird. Yeah, there's a guy in my school called Hard Billy, and I'm glad that this isn't him.
You sure? You don't know that?
Well, I don't know. People change. Yeah, it's got like a Van Geddes synth style to it, which I'm a big fan of. I put down great keyboard. Sounds like the M83 score for Oblivion. If anybody knows that film.
I was going to say that's a reference I don't understand, but hopefully people will.
you know M83. Don't you?
I know M83, but not Oblivion.
Yeah, it's got really deep throbbing synths, and yeah, I didn't feel like I needed to find out what she's singing, because I think that her voice felt like another instrument. It fitted along with the tune, rather than me needing to know what she's singing about. So yeah, that's why I didn't dive into her vocals. But yeah, it was a good start, and I enjoyed.
Oh yeah, I'm glad, because I really thought it could go either way with this one.
I don't know what it's like in the rest of Europe, but 2021, for me, one band that I have known everyone's been talking about is Wet Leg. I don't actually know why. That sounds horrible, because I'm about to say they're a great artist, but to me, they are not doing anything spectacularly different, but everyone seems to be loving this band, so much so that they've already appeared on American chat shows. And they've only done 2 singles, which is, to me, insane. Because what happens to the album's terrible. What happens if this is it?
When a band is hyped, it's hyped. I mean, we've seen this before, right? Like,
yeah. If I was the manager, I would turn down an American chat show before you've had an album out, because the hype's going to, personally, I'm scared it's going to kill them. But anyway, hopefully not. So I've chosen Wet Dream. They have their a certain style. I should say that it's actually a female duo from the Isle of Wight, spectacularly. I didn't know that until today. I'm shocked. Being so close to Isle of Wight. I went to 2 festivals this year. They played both of them. I missed them because they cancelled one, and I was watching another band at the same time, so I could have seen them live. I may regret that later. But why do I like this song? Because they have a theme where they have a kind of chatty, repetitive verse where they like to repeat things like in this one it's playing with myself, playing with myself, playing with myself, and then they have a catchy guitar line and a catchy chorus, and that seems to be the same on both singles. It's a little bit Pixies, it's a little bit I've heard it before, but I do enjoy the song, and I'm putting this in now before the hype destroys it for me. So at the moment I hear it the perfect amount, but I'm scared it may become annoying sooner or later.
I see exactly what you've done there. Yeah, I feel like in the last 2 or 3 months, I've heard about them a lot, but never, clicked to listen to a song. And I found it interesting. So I did a bit of research on them, found out they were from the Isle of Wight, find out that their influences are the Ronettes, Jane Birkin, Ty Segall, and Bjork, which I was like, that's a very intriguing mix. But actually, I think it does come across a little bit. In terms of bands that it sounds like, I wrote like a Sonia Pip Blom, Franz Ferdinand, or Lady Hawk. There definitely is that kind of, rock quality, but with melody in there as well. And for me, when I listened to it the second time, I was like, hang on, did Fran actually, did he put a Pip Blom song? I just completely forgot. And I was like, no, of course it's it's Wet Dream. I didn't like this the first time I heard it, but it grew on me. So I can see why you're worried that it would become annoying, because it is, quite twee. I do think it's pretty solid pop rock. Depending on where the hype goes, I think it could, they could get better, or it could kind of become quite stale. And while I didn't save it to my playlist, I think by the third listen, I did enjoy it.
It would be interesting if I had seen them live, because then I would be able to judge them properly on more than 2 songs. So I'm hoping that a duo from the Isle of Wight becoming massive would be brilliant. But
any other acts from Isle of Wight?
Yeah. So I currently like the Plastic Mermaids. They're like a psychedelic weirdo indie band, which is very up my street. They're completely DIY. They make their own videos, they make their own artwork, everything. They're on the label for Rob the Bank.
Right, yeah.
I've seen them live twice in festivals, and it's just been me and 4 of their friends. It's been quite embarrassing. And I don't get it. I think they're brilliant. So yeah, there's at least 2 decent bands in the Isle of Wight at the moment, which is pretty cool. I think the last band I knew was the Bees. Remember the Bees?
Yeah, I know the Bees. Yeah, they had a couple of good songs.
Yeah, it's been 20 years. So go.
Oh god, fuck. We're old. Yeah, it keeps coming back. I should have added this to the bingo.
Before that, we've got level 42.
Oh,
so, yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. So there you go. Big up Isle of Wight, since they're kind of local to me.
Yeah, I think we mentioned this before. We like it when a band from a smaller part of the world becomes bigger. However, the next act is American. So before I start, just to tell you, Fran, from what I've done on research, pronouns are they. I might forget, but just to say. And had you heard of Angel Hayes, who is my next pick?
Oh no.
Right. So they're a very interesting person, because they had an absolutely crazy life. So their father passed away. Their mum got involved in a cult and managed to escape, but was kind of chased by it. And it was one of those cults where it's like, you're not allowed to listen to music, wear jewelry, date people, etc., etc., etc. So really glad that they managed to get out. And I vaguely knew about their music, but they became quite big when they started dating Island Baldwin, Alec Baldwin's daughter. And they were quite a striking couple. So I knew Angel from that. I knew about their crazy life and their crazy dating history. And I really hadn't thought much beyond that. But honestly, this song, Wait, was the 3rd most listened song. And I became absolutely obsessed with it, because it starts with this sort of weird, I called it harpsichord or synth harpsichord, don't know what you'd call it, menacing bass. And their flow is just really great. There's this bit where where they say, "You really didn't think that I would get it. Thought a little pressure was going to push me to the limit. Bitch, I died. Bitch, I cried." And it's just every time it just absolutely gets me. So someone I didn't know at all, with a genre that is not at all my favorite genre, and yet there's something about it, something weird about it, that kept me listening over and over again. However, I imagine this is really not up your street.
Well, okay.
Great tone to start with.
The first thing I should say is I was listening to this in the office, and
oh, this is when you messaged me saying some of these songs are not safe for work.
The first track, Hard Belly, fine. This meant headphones plugged in, because this does contain the naughty words.
It does.
I put down here, this doesn't really speak to me because I'm the least aggressive person you can ever find and very unconfrontational. If I'm watching Big Brother, I even turn off when I have an argument. So with that in mind, I don't particularly like confrontation in music. I enjoyed the nice bit of piano in it.
Right.
There's a lot of guns in the video.
There is, because they've released an EP and it's called Girl with a Gun.
Okay.
There we go. Yeah.
So yeah, I struggled to find anything I could really jump into, unfortunately.
That's
but hey,
fine.
I'm being honest.
But that's absolutely. Honestly, I think this is what I was like. If Fran likes anything about this, I'll be surprised.
Well,
So
nice bit of piano.
Nice bit of piano. But I really think that what made it for me was her flow. What made it for me was their flow, because I really like it in whatever genre where you feel like what they're saying is what they mean. And the bitch, I cried, bitch, it's so heartfelt. It's one of those songs that when I listen to it, I'm always waiting for that bit to just be like, yeah. So I can understand that's not for everyone, but that's what
I have a question, actually, I thought of. So I think one reason I'm not big into hip hop is because, like we've spoken about, lyrics to me aren't what I really go for with music, and I assume that the people who are into hip hop like what they're talking about. So you've also said yourself you're not massively into lyrics, so I'm surprised you do like hip hop, because without the lyrics there isn't much music sometimes behind it to jump into.
I'm not such a big lyrics fan, but I am a fan of bass. And I think that's what comes across in hip hop. So, I could have very easily included Industry Baby by Lil Nas X. And yesterday I went to a bowling alley and they were playing that. And as it comes in, the bass is just like, and I was like, yes. And I think with lyrics, it's a 2-tier system for me. I think my automatic censor is I don't listen to them, but sometimes things push through, and I don't think it's the lyrics. I don't think it's Angel saying bitch I cried, bitch. It's the way that the way that they sing it. It's very bitch I cried, bitch it's very emotive that I just can't help but pay attention to, even if actually what I also enjoy about the song is the weird harpsichord and the piano and the bass.
So James, with Beautiful Beaches from their latest album, and they are a band who have hit form. There's some people in the UK who think that they are the sit-down band, which bugs them as much as it bugs all their fans, and they don't even play it live a lot of the time.
Oh, really?
Because they say we've got quite a lot of hits. We can play. But I think what people don't know about James is that they record music so different to any other band. So the reason why Brian Eno worked for them for such a long time was because they have 6 or 7 members and they would just jam for hours and hours and hours. And then they listen back to the jams and they pick out certain parts and then turn that into a song. So it's amazing that they have these catchy songs from how it's being written. They're always trying to do new things, and it's nice to see a band who've been going for 40 years, who are always trying to do new things. So listening to this song, speaking of that they have like 7 members, you can only hear like 5 instruments. So I don't know what 2 of them are up to, but hey. So the song is about Tim Booth living in California. And
very relatable.
During the fires, they had to drive down to Costa Rica to escape. This is a wash with gorgeous synths. I think it's got a great bass line. It's got beautiful guitars. It's catchy as fuck. I love the weird ending where it goes for some bizarre reason. And I've heard it again and again and again. So I said, there's some songs I thought I have to include because I've played them so many times, it would be wrong to not include them in the best of. So, and I think that Babs may hate it. So go for it.
I thought the beginning was quite intriguing. I enjoyed the dreamy synths and the distorted drums, but it was one of those songs that for me, I enjoyed each individual element more than the song as a whole. I would say, however, that it's pretty filmic. I could see it soundtracking, something kind of mega. So, yeah, I think despite it not being my particular cup of tea, again, I can understand why you'd like it. And I think outside, in a different context, I would probably enjoy it more. This wasn't one of my favorites on the playlist, but it still pleasantly surprised me, I have to say.
Yeah, well, check out the other tracks because it's quite. I think you'd be surprised at where they go. They are definitely a band who do not want to be a retro band. They refuse to be on any like 90s, Shine festivals or anything like that. We've got to give credit to them for that, I think. So, what's your track 3?
So, my next track is TLC from the Turnstile Love Connection band. And I discovered this band through Instagram. There's an Instagram account called @punk.black. And they're a media network that really tries to put the spotlight on bands, artists with people of color. I've discovered Pleasure Venom, who I've talked about before, through there. And they shared a clip of this song with this video, and I was immediately hooked. I was like, who are these guys? This is very intriguing. And these guys are an American hardcore band from Baltimore. They've been around for a while. They formed in 2010. And this is on their latest studio album, Glow, but also on an EP called Turnstile Love Connection. And I just think it is the best of so many different genres. It's punk, but it's also, it starts with synths and drumming. Then it goes into what you'd say, it's a slick punk song with some aggressive singing. But then it slows down and it's just guitar and drums. And then it finishes with almost these like percussion synths and a guy saying, I want to thank you for letting me be myself, all in 1 minute 42. Visually stunning, the video, because the video starts with the band playing and these very cool looking hipsters are in the video. And then suddenly when the song changes, the singer just runs out of the studio onto a motorbike and continues. And the video is part of almost like a longer film. So you have to watch it as a story. So this, Glow was one of my albums of the year. I've listened to it, I think, the most. And I think this is bringing together a lot of different genres in a really nice way. What did you think?
Well, I had heard of this band before. But thank you for reigniting me. Not reigniting me? Thank you for setting me on fire.
Please don't burn. Yeah.
I've noticed that all of the singles on this are all capitals, so you should probably shout TLC.
A little TLC. Yeah.
I think that's how I chose Blackout as my favourite song from the album. Are you a fan of that?
Yeah, I kind of love the whole album, I have to say.
So, yeah, to me it's not hardcore. I don't know what I guess you call it, rock and roll, but it's I think hardcore punk would put people off. It's got so much more than that. I've noticed that they've worked with Blood Orange.
Yeah, exactly.
On Strikes. There's
another
really
genre blender, extraordinaire.
And Lonely Desire is a really interesting, cool track near the end. I guess the song maybe is a bit too long.
1 minute 42, yeah.
It's quite, it's got a really thick rhythm guitar. Some parts of it sounded a bit like Idlewold's second album.
Really?
To me, yeah, a little bit to me. It's got a random 80s tom-tom sound at one point, which I kind of like. And I think it's a cracking track. So I added, once I heard this, I then thought, I should probably listen to that new album. I was like, oh yeah, this is a good album.
It's a fantastic album. Yeah, I think, Pick a Disc have been putting out a call to get people to record what they think their favorite album is of 2021. That's another conversation. And I don't know what I would pick as my favorite, but this would be in my top 5 for sure.
I got asked to think of my top 10 albums of the year for another magazine, and this is in my top 10 albums of the year.
I'm surprised.
There we go.
I know that just because there's shouting doesn't mean you won't like it, but I do think it's significantly less likely. And while there are a lot of other interesting things going on, which is why I like it. But to be honest, I think I would have liked it if it was just him going, "Oh no, TLC," as much as the other stuff. But there's an energy in it, and I think it's a perfect candidate for whiny bastards who say that there's no good rock music anymore.
So my track 4 is a band I had never heard of before October this year, and they are an Irish band from Dublin called Sprints. They've had a couple of singles, no album yet, and I've chosen a Modern Job. It gave me a few. I had to listen to it a few times before I got into it, but I think it's the guitar that follows the chorus, which is what I love. I like her delivery, I like the production, and I'll be interested to see where they go from this. So, Babs, what do you think?
Absolutely love this one. Again, another good example of rock bands doing fantastically. Never heard of them. Really like, I think the same things that you like. The guitars, the intensity of the guitars and the vocals together building. I like the fact that you can hear her Irish accent. She really feels like she's talking to you directly. And I would put this in the same category as, again, a lot of bands picked by Ben Hampson. You know, it's noisy rock, but there's melody through it. And when reading about, you know, what the song is about, she says, you know, but when you grow up queer, all these ordinary things can seem extraordinary, out of reach, and in some parts of the world illegal. It leaves you feeling lost, excluded, and confused. I wanted Modern Job to capture those feelings, chaotic energy, loneliness, and longing of normality. And you really feel that. And yeah, I'm really keen to hear more from these guys and hopefully an album.
Yeah, they had another single from this year, and it's basically just a coin toss. So I think if you like this, you might like the other tracks on Spotify.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, yeah, Irish bands. I feel like I have a bit of a gap in my knowledge there, and I think that Sprints fill it quite nicely. If we finished in this section, well, the next is more female rockers. So it's Goat Girl with Sad Cowboy. So they were my 5th artist on Spotify Wrapped, and this was the 4th song I heard the most. I've probably talked about them before because they had a self-titled album that I really liked in 2018, and this is from their second album On All Fours that was released this year. I probably like more songs from their self-titled album, but the songs I like on this album I'm really obsessed with. I could have picked a couple of others. I think this song is genius. It starts off, you know, with these very dreamy synths, clearly a theme through both our playlists today. Then it goes into more traditional rock and some intriguing percussion. But then it goes into this kind of psychedelic dream world in the chorus, all these shimmery layers. And this, I'm guessing you won't like as much. It's quite a sort of long instrumental ending, but it's something that really takes you on a journey. And unsurprising, I think, when you know that it's Dan Carey who produced it. He's produced a lot of other people like K Tempest. I feel like it's got his production fingerprints on it. It feels like quite an ethereal journey, and if you've seen the video, that also feels like quite an ethereal piece of art. So, Fran, what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I was a big fan of the video because it's got some windmills in it. And,
is that all it takes for you to get
it? There's not enough windmills in videos in the modern world.
Well.
Yeah, Goat Girl is a band I see written in a lot of magazines saying how great they are. So I was curious. I've never really checked them out before. Yeah, I love the reverb, synth stabs, the faint guitars, the where it closes. It's almost like an Ibiza chill out vibe in the end, you know.
Yeah, you're right. Bizarrely, you are right, and that's why it's good. Yeah.
So it works for me. I should probably listen to some other stuff because they keep getting great reviews. I think there's a lot of magazines top 50 songs and artists Goat Girl. So yeah, I shall definitely check out more Goat Girl.
Yeah, I'm glad because I really feel like they're sort of post-punk pretenders, right? And other bands like Shame, I think, get given it as much, maybe more column inches, and they are as good. And I think for people who are fans of lyrics, they will appreciate it even more than we do, Fran, because they have songs called PTST, for example, and they have a song called Badi Baba, which at first I thought, oh gosh, is this a cover version of Bawit Daba by Kid Rock? But no, it's a song about climate change. So I really think they're very talented, and it's nice to hear their progression and that they're still as good in their second album 3 years on.
Okay, this band, Clean Cut Kid, and Spotify reckons I've listened to a song far too much, over 300 times, which I'm shocked by. But does that include like me listening to it for like 5 seconds? Does that count?
I don't know what counts as a play. I know with like a podcast it's like 60 seconds and you're like, okay,
Is
like so sometimes, yeah. I think it depends which platform. I should know this as the person who uploads the podcasts, but there we go. Yeah, but go on. So why did you listen to this 300 times?
Well, out of all the songs on my list, I can play this on guitar. So, whilst learning how to play it, I kept pressing repeat a lot, I guess. So
I had that. That
has helped.
I like a lot of songs. I would say my top 20 were songs I learned on bass this year. Like Inspire by Cave In and Numbskull by Ash.
So, maybe that's why it's hit the tops, because I was shocked to find this as my most listened to song. But I obviously love it. So this is from their third album, I think. Is it called Mother's Milk? Mm-hmm. Or was that the Red Hot Chili Peppers? Also, yeah. The first album you could maybe call power pop. It's got great harmonies, great guitar riffs, really, really catchy tracks, and I thought they were going to become like this big band, but the curse of me has happened again, and they got dropped after the second album.
Oh, really?
And now I saw them playing in a random location in Shoreditch to like 100 people. So I want them to continue, and hopefully they do. I think they're now on like a very small label, and for the third album, I think some of their relatives died, so they wrote like a more of a sadder album regarding relationships with parents, and then they just put in like 2 like pop songs maybe, and this is what I've chosen, which is called People When They're Drinking, which I am shocked why they haven't released as a single, and also even more devastated that they don't play it live, even though I sent 2 texts and an email. And one of them they liked.
Oh, right, okay.
Bastards. Why do I like this song? It's quite rare for a band to sing a song about hating parties and hating talking to people. That doesn't happen. And if, I don't want to be like cliche, but the fact that Scousers too, who are renowned for being social drinkers, I kind of like a little bit more. It's quite refreshing. Mm-hmm. So basically it's about, yes, I'm at a party, but, the only reason I'm here is because I'm drinking your beer. I don't give a crap about your wife or what your kid did last week. I'm literally here because I'm being forced to, and I love it. And like, he said, I think he says like, I'm going to do another lap of the party just to kill more time, which I've done so many times. And I cannot believe that this is like a guy is literally reading my mind on parties, and so I think that's why I love it, because it's a rarity. It's also, I think, got catchy chorus, lovely harmonies, and some little beautiful guitar magic from Mike. And so I know you're not a big fan of catchy pop songs, so you probably hate it. But I think lyrically, you may like it.
Lyrically, very strong. The lyrics really made me laugh. Again, if we're talking about the 2-tier thing, I couldn't help. Well, already from seeing that the song was called "People When They're Drinking," I thought, hello, I think this is going to be a bit of a satire, a bit of a critique. And, on the positive, I really like the interplay between their voices and and the bass. But
they're married.
They're married. Okay, yeah, I think I put there's an Elton John piano and a very melodic chorus. It's not for me. But I wrote down, Fran, did you pick this because you identified with the content of the song? Precisely because I was like, you've mentioned before that you're not a big fan of the pub and getting drunk, and yeah, that is definitely very original.
Let's move on to your next track.
And I think for my next track, I'm just going to say, let me do all of the talking, because I think I know what's going to come here. So my next song is BDE by Shy Girl featuring everyone's favorite rapper Slow Tie. So this was the second most placed song of mine according to Spotify Wrapped. And I knew about Shy Girl before this song came out because she'd guested on a Georgia song, Mellow, from Georgia's album Seeking Thrills, which almost made my best of 2020 list, but not quite. But I really like Georgia, and it was really so close to putting it. I think I might have even put Mellow on the list as one of my favorites. So yeah, I mean, I didn't even know what kind of musician she was. I was just like, okay, yeah, she guested on that song, and I quite like it. but BDE was released and it went pretty big pretty quickly, and she's definitely someone on the rise because like Rihanna knows about her and has used some of her songs in Savage Times 20 shows. She was on the remix of the Lady Gaga's Chromatica album this year as well. And she says that her biggest influences are Mariah Carey, Aphex Twin, Madonna, Bjork, and Rasheen Murphy. So there we go. For me, it's this year's WAP with a British edge and a bit more of an avant-garde tune. And I really like that the beat is very dirty, but her voice is very silky, especially when she has effects. So again, I like the contrast of her very calm voice with these very explicit lyrics. Do I like that Slow Tie is on there? No, I'm not a fan. We all saw what he did to Catherine Ryan at the Enemy Awards, and we don't like it. But unfortunately, he delivers a great verse in this song. And yeah, what can I say? It's like his voice gets higher and stronger, and it goes on like he's getting more and more excited. It just, yeah, unfortunately, it goes well with the song. And yeah, I got very addicted to it when it came out, and I imagine that you absolutely hate it.
Yeah, but I literally couldn't think of anything
anything positive to say.
Like, I watched the video and it's quite funny seeing her in a rabbit outfit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just, so is it a big thing? Because I've only heard WAP and this. So is that a thing at the moment? People singing about explicit sex, or is that?
So it's very interesting. I've been debating this recently because I think that it's only been in the last, I'm going to say, 3 years that women singing explicitly about sex isn't a huge deal, and it isn't seen as, oh, there's some pop puppet master that's making these women sing about sex. It is, these women are doing it because they want to sing about sex. And with WAP, I really don't think the Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion were pressurized into it. It is, they're very open women, and that's what they want to be singing about. And that's what I feel with Shy Girl. And I mean, I imagine you haven't listened to her other songs, but I don't just like this song because it's singing about sex. She's weird. Like, it's weird electronic music. I listen to Uckers or some of her other songs. It's just very unusual. It really wrong foots you, and I really like the weird beats and her voice, which is sometimes has all these effects on it, and sometimes it's just her very calmly saying something. I think you said in an episode recently, right, that you like when a song is about an aggressive topic, but it's not done. It's not coming. I think I feel similarly. It's just like the music is very weird. Yes, your voice is very calm and normal, and I think that's what makes her stand out.
But I guess I was 10 when Madonna brought out Justify My Love and did the sex book, and that was her. I don't think she was being.
No, not at all.
So to me, it's like Lady Gaga. I think a lot of people have done this sort of stuff, and I kept thinking, if I don't know, Brandon Flowers spoke about wanting some big titties on his face,
of all the examples,
the Mormon. But no, but I'm thinking as a fan of the Killers, if he sang, but if the song was. But if the song was like Mr. Brightside Good, but the lyrics were big titties on my face and I'm about to come, but I can't get hard and no.
Okay.
That would put me off massively.
First of all,
so it's not.
I just want to say that song is the best Killer song I've listened to since Hot Fuss, and I would buy that in a second. But this is the debate that I was having, right? Because I think, all right, not Brandon Flowers, but how many male rappers sing about their dicks and sex?
I think I said it because I don't listen to that sort of music. Yeah. To me, it's like, but I don't listen to anyone talking about dicks or pussy or so.
I think Peaches was the first artist, because I guess there was Lil' Kim and a few others beforehand, but it kind of passed me by. So Peaches was the first artist where I was like, oh, like this woman is singing about sex and enjoying it, and I just think, as someone who always felt pretty, like, I don't know how to say this without making me sound like weird, but pretty sexually open, or like thinks that it's a good thing for women to talk openly about their sexuality. Someone like Peaches was a revelation. And while I definitely think that those topics are now more mainstream, and it does feel, as I said, that it's something that these women want to sing about, and it's not some executive being like, show your big old titties and sell some records. It just makes me happy when I hear sex being talked about by a woman so explicitly, because it's I think it's still not the norm.
But if you are listening, Brandon Flowers,
Please,
be interested.
please
Be
release
interesting.
that song. Come on, like it would be an image rehabilitation. If not, we're going to do it, Brandon. So,
Okay, let's move on from BDE. So when I made this playlist, I thought this is quite interesting because it's very poppy. Like I've never been scared of pop. I like Aha and Duran Duran. I think that a well-written pop song is a thing of beauty. I think some people see pop and think of it's being made by a robot, or no, and that belittles it a little bit, or they've had 10 writers. But there's no soul. But I think the pop songs I've chosen are ones written by the actual artist. It does seem to be a bit more melodic, but also it's been quite a shit year. So when I have been, I listened to the Nick Cave album and I appreciated it, but I thought,
bit gloomy, Nick.
I can't imagine me being in the mood to listen to it again. So I thought, yeah, it's decent, but I'm just not feeling. And it's the same with films. Like I've skipped over so many films this year because I've read what they're about, and I thought I'm not in the mood. I watched Nomadland and struggled, and I think because I live in such a horrible world at the moment, I'm constantly after entertainment. So I think that me wanting to be entertained shows what I'm listening to.
Yeah.
And and I think that when I was in my early 20s, I probably listened to more pretentious music than I do now, which is weird because you should. As you get older, you think your taste will change. But I think when I was 22, I'd listen to random talk albums which have jazz and all sorts of fucked up stuff happening, and I'd listen to a load of classical music and different sort of stuff. And now I am listening to the same music as an 18-year-old girl, and I'm happy with that. I'm happy. So yeah, but that's I've never been scared of enjoying the mainstream, and I think some music snobs would think, oh, I like that, but I won't talk about it on a podcast. This in the UK has been everywhere, and it's the live version is the only version that I hear on radio, on TV. I didn't know why it was the live version, then I found out it's because of TikTok.
Right, yeah.
We had a chat about this. So this single technically came out last year, but it was last summer. They did a live version, and that became massive on TikTok, and people miming whatever they do on TikTok to this version. So then in September this year, they released this as a standalone single, but the live version. So I'm including the live version of Anxiety, which is Willow Smith and Tyler Cole, with Meet Me at the Spot. I am as shocked as you that Willow is still making music, because the last thing I knew was her whipping her hair.
Me too, yep.
I had never heard of Tyler Cole.
No, me neither.
He's an actor singer.
Right.
And yeah, so I just think that when you listen to this live version, it's very stripped back. And I think they smash it. I think their vocals just flow beautifully off each other. And it makes me want to be young. I want to be a young 17-year-old in the sun listening to this song. Sadly, I'm a guy in his 40s sat in a horrible room. And I'm okay with that. So
that's what these songs do, transport you. So I did know a little bit that Willow Smith was doing more than whipping her hair, because I had discovered and actually forgotten that I discovered Transparent, her song with Travis Barker. I had that saved. And it's a bit more pop punk. And I was really taken aback by this song. I did not realize she had such a good voice. And Tyler has a great voice. And what I like as well is her voice is quite strong, whereas his is more kind of gentle, almost the kind of voice that if you were to stereotype, it would be sort of R&B-esque, coupled with the instrumentation, which is what I would say would not go with either of their voices in that context. Like you could see her voice in something a bit more rocky, his a bit more R&B. I think it's I think it's really interesting. It's grown on me as well.
So yeah, I mean, usually this sort of music would have a computer backing it, but the fact it's got a live band, I think is kind of a bit more fresh.
Yeah.
Is this R&B? Is this pop? I don't know what you'd define it.
Yeah, I think I would go for pop as a more general thing. I think pop made of many elements is how I describe it.
Yeah, so I hear it all the time and I still like it. so far?
Yeah, I mean, so just to say, so far I have known none of the songs that you've picked, and yeah, it really makes me feel like there's a difference between what's playing in Belgium and what's playing in the UK. That's for sure. Well, actually, before we move on, I think I've been in two situations recently. So I was in a cafe this weekend where they were playing. Actually, yeah, I was in two different cafes this weekend where they were playing either a radio station or a playlist that had a wide variety of genres, like pop, but also sort of techno and rock. And I went to a bowling alley yesterday, and I was like, actually, these situations where they're deliberately playing popular music, I was thinking it's been such a long time since I've been there. And I twice heard the Coldplay and BTS song that now exists, and that I had to Shazam because I was like, this sounds like Coldplay and I don't know who it is. But I was like, oh yeah, gosh, I think it's also a COVID thing of just, I'm not going to these group events, group places as much. And yeah, so I was at the bowling alley for maybe 2 hours. I think I only knew of the entire playlist that played when I was there, I knew 3 songs. Everything else was new to me. So yeah. I
guess occasionally I will listen to like the Spotify's biggest hits of the year, just to see out of curiosity what is big. So I think sometimes I but yeah, I guess like you're saying, if you're not going out at all, you won't hear the pop songs and you won't get Whamageddoned.
No, yes, it is, and I've managed to avoid it. I saw Andy Yosho posting about it. So one second. I saw Andy Yosho posting about it, and I almost got Whamageddoned because someone put a video of Boris Johnson with Last Christmas on top. But I saw a tweet, and then I saw someone replying to it saying, "Damn it, I've been Whamageddoned," and then I saw it come up on someone else's timeline, and I was like, no, I can't click on this video. So I have so far successfully managed to avoid it, although I think it was the Love of Hun's Instagram account posted a video of the Loose Women singing Last Christmas, but apparently remixes and other versions are allowed.
Oh, really?
So okay. I'm okay. How about you?
I don't play along. I always tell people it's December the 1st, so I'm going to put on Wham's Greatest Hits.
Oh yeah, Whamageddon, by the way, for those who might not know, it is a game where you try and avoid hearing Last Christmas by Wham, and if you hear it, you've been Whamageddoned and you're out. So yeah,
there you go, guys. That's how we live our lives these days.
How we live our lives.
So next pick.
Next pick. So my next pick is As Blue as Indigo by Tiger Cub. I've mentioned I'm a huge fan of this band. I'm breaking the rule a little bit because we have talked about them before. They were my number 2 artist on Spotify Wrapped, and it was very, very difficult. I really thought about picking between this one and their latest single, IWGFU, because it's really bloody catchy. But I went for this one because I thought this one was a little bit more original. I have to say, as much as I love I Want to Get Fucked Up, which is the other single, it does sound quite Queens of the Stone Age-y. Whereas I think this is a more original song by I Love You, Tiger Cub. Please do. Please love me. It's the album opener, which lends its name to the album, which again would be one of my albums of the year, As Blue as Indigo. And it really exemplifies what I like about Tiger Cub, which is how they go from quiet to loud, how their songs build. They have, a calm guitar and a falsetto voice, and it lures you in. And then the guitar, bass, and drums come in, taking it in a completely different direction. And it just builds. I think it's great. No idea what it's about. It's way too abstract for me, but I don't care because it's good. Fran?
Nice, peaceful guitar opening. And then we get a rude awakening. And to me, it sounds like if Muse chose the Rage pill instead of the Queen pill in the mid-noughties.
We're back to Muse again, yeah.
We're back to Muse. Seriously, it sounds like the heavier version of Muse. It's a good thing, and it's got brilliant drumming. The censor section is lovely. It's better than Royal Blood, who I think are from Brighton.
And who Tiger Cub supported recently.
Oh, there you go. Oh, there you go.
They are a fantastic live band, and I think, they're an example of one of those bands that they're constantly innovating, constantly looking at doing new things, and keep it up, Tiger Cub.
Over underrated. Sous-évalué. Överschätzt. Överunderskattad. Over
and you've made it to the middle section of the podcast. Just a quick thank you for getting this far, and I hope you've been enjoying us debating our music choices. And now time for an advert. See you in a minute.
Hello, this is Still Any Good, the podcast where we run the risk of ruining our childhoods by revisiting fondly remembered films.
Have you ever wondered if the movies you enjoyed as a child have passed the test of time? Are they disappointingly awful, or are they still any good?
We've looked at Superman,
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure,
Big Trouble in Little China,
Basic Instinct,
Face Off,
Trading Places,
Police Academy 2,
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids,
Bugsy Malone,
Escape to Victory,
Look Who's
The
Talking,
Man with Two Brains,
Kindergarten Cop,
Short Circuit,
Home Alone,
Smokey and the Bandit,
Tango and Cash.
So are these films still any good? Join me, Robert Johnson, in my cosy living room.
And me, Christopher Webb, in my garage, and find out for yourselves.
It's a lovely garage.
Moving away from Tiger, checking out Bleachers
Yes.
with the song China Girl featuring Mr.
Chinatown?
Bruce. Chinatown.
Not
No
David
relation to the
Bowie's
film.
China Girl. Yeah. Okay. Good.
Featuring Bruce Springsteen, who we've mentioned on a past episode. Bleachers are interesting to me because I've not met anyone who's heard of him. I never hear of him in the UK. I have liked one single from each album and no more, which is very strange. Turns out, researching that the guy
He's been busy.
is... Yeah, he's got fingers in. I changed my first. I was like, he's got fingers in a lot of girls, guys. No, he has been working hard with a lot of the biggest artists in the world, and this is his own project. He also was in Fun.
Yeah.
Remember Fun?
Yes, I do remember Fun. Yeah. I have a lot to say about Jack and stuff. Yeah.
And that song. So I saw a live version of this about 6 months ago with him playing in the garden with Bruce Springsteen.
Wow.
And I forgot about it. And then when doing my research, I then came across this and I thought, oh yeah, it's that song again. I quite like that. And it's quite a basic pop song. Lyrically, it's not great. Although I love the line "Take the sadness out of Saturday night."
Yeah,
quite like
that's
that.
the name of the album as well, right? So yeah.
I love the keyboard rumble. I love the little keyboard riff. Dee. And the chorus just dances with me, and I literally cannot get that chorus out of my head. And I think I had this on repeat for like 5 hours. It was odd. And then, sometimes you just don't know why you love a song.
Yeah.
Because it's really fucking basic. And what's even weird about it is that Bruce Springsteen doesn't even make it better. I think it would be better without Bruce Springsteen. I don't know why he's in it, because he sounds almost like, I don't know, like drunk. His voice just like is everywhere. It's not a good vocal. I don't get why they've used him. And I've no idea. Yeah, I can't stop listening to the song. I'm sorry.
You don't have to apologise for that.
I think because it doesn't make sense. But hey, there you go. Spotify doesn't lie.
Spotify doesn't lie. So I wondered if Bruce Springsteen featured on this because Jack Antonoff is also from New Jersey. And that seems apparent when you watch the video as well, which I don't know if you have. So maybe it was just a question of getting a hometown hero on. Fran, I'm just going to say that this is my least favourite song on the playlist. As I think the Bruce Springsteen song from 2020 was. I really didn't like the synth and the xylophone, but then the verses came in and I thought it improved. I liked the voices and the harmonies. But I do think I agree with you on Bruce, but he comes in at such a weird time. It's like he starts harmonizing on a random verse and then sounds like a very old man far away. It was very strange. But yeah, I mean, Jack Antonoff what has he done? Lord, St. Vincent. He's clearly a very good producer. I do think there's what he adds in pop and melody to songs. You can't what's I'm looking for. You can't tone it down. You can't dismiss it. And I think I've talked about this before, but the Song Exploder episode about Sober by Lorde, another Lorde mention, she talks about kind of what Jack Antonoff brought to the song. And it was really interesting. And as with so many songs that I've listened to on Song Exploder, I think I don't like them. Then I hear about it in the breakdown, and now I actually really like Sober by Lorde. I thought I didn't like any songs from that album. So yeah, I have to say, I think I prefer Jack Antonoff as a producer than as Bleachers or Fun Dude, because I don't know, is it his voice that doesn't add something? Normally the people he's worked with have much stronger voices. I don't know exactly what it is, but yeah, not so much my cup of tea, I'm afraid.
Okay. Moving on to
what I'm. If I had to guess the song you hated the most out of my playlist, and it is also quite a cheeky inclusion from my side. So this is a song called Wege Wege by Pongo, and it's a cheeky inclusion because it's a reinterpretation of a song from 2008. But I really felt I had to bring her in because I'm Portuguese and I've not talked about Portuguese language music enough. And Buraca Som Sistema, so the band that did this original song, they were kind of a breakthrough brand. So the 2008 album Black Diamond, MIA was on it. It definitely, it wasn't totally mainstream, but if you were into any kind of vague world music, you would have enjoyed it. And I definitely did. And it's quite an interesting mesh of kind of techno and these two African genres called Zouk and Kuduro. And yeah, they broke up in 2016. And yeah, they have some really good records, and I recommend checking it out. Like with Angel Hayes, Pongo has had quite an interesting life. So she is actually from Angola. She immigrated to Portugal, faced a lot of racism, and was so unhappy that she threw herself off the 7th floor of the building where she lived when she was 12, breaking her leg. And during the recovery, her father called her Pongo Love after the name of a Congolese singer. And she had to go to these physical therapy sessions in Lisbon across the city. And she saw this Kuduro group performing on the street and kind of became friends with them. And after her recovery, she started dancing with the group and singing rap. So definitely sort of like a rags to riches, getting the most out of a bad situation. I included this because the original is great, but this is a really interesting interpretation. There's kind of heavier bass and percussion in the original, and she also sings lower, whereas this has more keyboards into it. And the song is kind of about her and about the whole movement. So she talks about, when I enter the stage, it moves talent. Here it rains. On the microphone, I'm the first. I will raise my flag, singing for Angola and for the whole world. So I think it's a catchy song. I, like to introduce this kind of music to a wider audience, but I imagine that it is not at all for you, Fran.
Were you surprised that the video is her playing it in Camden?
No, I actually, my God, I haven't seen the video. I didn't even bother.
Yeah.
I mean, I was meant to see her in Belgium. Like, she is, they were big enough. Like, I remember Fabric Live have a Buraca Som Sistema compilation. So yeah, they're a very interesting band. But yeah.
Yeah, but as a singing Portuguese, yeah. I was surprised to see. So yeah, I keep hearing Wicket, who's an Ewok. Is that incorrect?
Yeah, I think that is. I don't know what Wege Wege is. Wege Wege. It's just, I don't know what it is, but it's catchy.
Yeah, I put down. So you're wrong. The worst one was BDE.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, this is fine for me. It's got a catchy keyboard motif. It's got some other interesting instrumentation below it. But this is what I found interesting for you, is that I couldn't hear any bass.
Oh yeah. Like, there doesn't need to be, but like I just said, DC Death Rays are one of my big discoveries for this year. They do not have a bassist.
But you said that you like hip hop because of the bass line. So I was like, oh, okay.
But I mean, for me, this isn't hip hop. This is pop and Kuduro. So I don't know much about Kuduro. I'm not going to pretend that I do, but because it's a genre from Angola, and Angola is an ex-Portuguese colony, and so so Buraca is a poor suburb of Lisbon, and it's a suburb with lots of immigrants. So that's why it's called Buraca Som Sistema, because Som Sistema means sound system. So it's almost like the building up of it. And for me, it's far more dance than it is hip hop, because I mean, you literally see it dancing, and it is the kind of music that, yeah, if you go to Portugal, or even, when I went to Cape Verde on holiday, which is, a different African country, you would hear this kind of music in the beach bars and stuff like that. So I would much more associate it with that than yeah, let's say traditional US hip hop.
So again, I said how I created my playlist, and just by listening to music and then putting a heart next to it. So we're now moving on to Olivia Rodrigo, who apparently is from High School Musical. I had no fucking idea. And the first track I heard by her was Brutal, which is a very different track. It's like kind of a rocky track. So I thought, let's see, was maybe like a young rock star started, and then the next track came on was Driver's License, which is a fucking different track completely. And it played, and I thought, okay, this has got some lovely piano, and it's a bit melancholic,
heartfelt.
And I thought this is maybe a bit X Factor ballad. And then, I started to listen to the lyrics and thought, yeah, okay, we've got some emo lyrics. And then it came on again and again. And I actually thought, this is really growing on me. And I'm starting to love this track. And it kind of is Adele for the under 21s, even with lyrics and delivery. But then I then assumed naively that it's been made by 10 people. But it actually is just her and her producer. So I then thought, okay, maybe she does mean it, and this isn't like a soulless, forced ballad. So I thought, okay, I'll give her some credit now. And she's only 18, and I listened to her do it live, and she delivers it, and you do feel the realism, but the sadness. It doesn't seem like she's just singing somebody else's lyrics. I think it is her own lyrics, and yeah, I can't stop listening to it, and I think it's a brilliant pop song.
So this was the only song from your list that I knew, and I only knew it because we were talking previously off mic that some artists break through because I follow enough pop buzz, pop culture things that it comes through. So suddenly I just kept hearing about her, and I was like, who is this woman? And I listened to this song, and I was like, the first time I listened, I was also cynical. I was like, this is kind of sad girl for a younger generation. Billie Eilish isn't doing enough, so they're bringing someone else along. But I also think there's definite Lorde and Taylor Swift kind of qualities coming through, Lorde especially towards the end. But I don't think you can deny everything you say about, her writing it from the heart. She has a fantastic voice. I hadn't listened to it again in a while, and I really felt the emotion coming through, and that's it. Like, it is a song that teenagers heartbroken can relate. I think I went on YouTube to look at the video, and I think the top comment was me thinking about my imaginary boyfriend, and I was like, oh, bless. And it is quite cinematic, and yeah, kind of bedroom pop, power pop, and yeah, someone. So I wrote that Stereogum critic Chris DeVille described it as a prime Spotify core sad girl fare that starts as a trembling Phoebe Bridgers song and concludes as a resplendent folklore track. All things which are not really for me, but I can still appreciate it and understand why it's so big.
But yeah, but again, there's so many young singers at the moment. It's great, isn't it?
Yeah, and I have to say, I quite like "Good for You." That's my favorite Olivia Rodrigo song. That's a bit more upbeat, and I just checked, and that was co-written by Hayley Williams of Paramore.
So there you go, driver's license.
Driver's license, guys, check it out. Check out this underrated ballad.
One for the top of the pops, that one. Okay, moving on to another youngster.
Yeah, and another very youngster. So this is Ecstasy, written EKK, STACY. I walk this earth all by myself. Yeah, continuing the emo teenager theme. This guy is very interesting. So I'm just going to take the words from his website to introduce him. Ecstasy is an 18-year-old artist from Vancouver, Canada. He always wanted to be an artist, but he felt that there was something he couldn't do because he didn't have the confidence. However, after going through drug-induced psychosis, his parents' divorce, and alcohol abuse, he found himself writing and recording music every day. He took influence from film and artists, including Elliott Smith, The Drums, Bon Iver, and Bedroom. Right now, Ecstasy describes his current sound as a fuse of indie, post-punk, and synthwave. And that sounds about right. So this song starts in, I would say, a kind of modern electronic way. There's something like a machine whirring and warming up, but then moves into like, I called it like sensitive indie that's somehow electronic. It's blending sort of dark wave, indie, bedroom pop. He has this very quiet, detached voice, but there's this very beautiful guitar and bass and drum machines. It sounds like the kind of song that he absolutely wrote in his bedroom, but sounds like an old soulful person doing it. And again, very, emo. I work this earth. The lyrics are, I walk this earth all by myself. I'm doing drugs, but they don't help. My voice is nothing when I'm screaming out for help. I stretch my hand, but my grip just gives out. Nobody gives a fuck about me. That's what I think to myself when I'm alone in the city. I walk around the mall, but there's no one with me. What do I say when there's nobody listening? Cheery stuff. But I just don't think there's anyone who sounds quite like him. He's only 18. He's got so many good songs already. And yeah, I was really intrigued, I think, with this one more than anyone, if you'd agree with me on that one.
When I read about him recording it in his bedroom, I thought of Owl City. Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
God.
Fireflies.
Yeah, Jesus. Luckily, he is not He is not Elsie. So Ecstasy. Yeah, I'm a big fan. I think I can hear Empire of the Sun production wise.
Yeah.
Even it's a simple, catchy number. I like the vocal effects. I like the warmth synth. I think if it's recorded by somebody else like Owl City, it could be a bit too cheesy. I think he has enough layers of like warmth synths and his vocal effects keep it from being too poppy and too over saccharine. I think maybe it's also weird that near the end of the song he gives us some sort of like remix version, the slow down version.
Slow down, yeah.
Bizarrely, but there you go.
Yeah, and it was written only by him. That's it. Really is his authorship, and just really like I'm 34. He's almost half my age. For someone to have that level of maturity in lyric writing and music writing, it's really impressive. And yeah, I think he is going to become fairly big. Like that song's already had 13 million listens, and he's got over 1 million monthly listeners. So yeah, fingers crossed he can really stretch his creative muscles.
Yeah, I put down with teenagers this talented, it's time for me to get off the planet.
So what's your next pick, Fran?
So the next pick is Self-Esteem. So this is an artist that I know rather well because I'm aware of a previous life in Slow Club. This is like the indie folk band from Sheffield who made 4 albums, and they were a duo. Unfortunately, it went a bit sour. I think that Rebecca Taylor, who is Self-Esteem, felt kind of trapped and couldn't be herself. And there's a documentary they made on the last tour, which you can watch the band being pissed off with each other for 90 minutes, and
that is quite an entertaining watch on me. But
and so she wanted to reinvent herself and be the pop star she thought she could be, hence Self-Esteem. She wanted to do things how she wanted it rather than being told who to be and what to be. Yeah, so she made an album in 2019 called Compliments Please, which has lots of bangers, and I thought, she's going to become a massive pop star. And I saw her play to 50 people in a pub. I thought, maybe not. And then, and then her second album came out this year called Prioritize Pleasure, and now everyone suddenly found her, and she's getting loads of press, loads of 5-star reviews. She's even appeared on the John Ellis radio show, which is kind of how we met. And I then saw her play the same venue I saw her 2 years ago. This time it was sold out, and I was so happy for her. And I could have chosen a variety of singles. Personally, I think Moody is probably her best single, but I Do This All the Time seems to be the one that everyone talks about. It's kind of Wear Sunscreen for this decade by the Basil Allman track from the 90s.
I literally wrote, is it okay to wear sunscreen for Zoomers? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like it's her discussing, her life and how she sees things. I don't agree with everything she says. And then the chorus, it has some lovely strings and her saying, lean back, look up, and it's quite inspirational. Then it has a beautiful sort of like musical interlude, and it flows fantastically. But yeah, I just wanted to know what you thought, Babs.
And I mean, this song was on so many people's top of people's favorite 2021 tracks. So yeah. So I actually heard about her for the first time on Richard Osman's birthday podcast, a birthday game podcast even. And I remember being quite intrigued about it because I think most of the guests were comedians. It was like Self-Esteem, and I was like, what? That's a person's name. What's going on here? And I actually, having said that I only knew Olivia Rodrigo, I actually do think I'd heard this song before and definitely seen her being mentioned more and more and more. And I like it. The spoken word stuff is great. Again, like the fact you can hear her accent. I like the other things that are going on, like when her voice gets distorted and when there's strings. And there's some lyrics in there that really pack a punch. Like the one that stood out for me was, one day I would love to tell you how the best night of your life was the absolute worst of mine. Fucking hell. But yeah, I think I'm a bit intellectual about this. I understand why people like it. I I like it as a concept more than I like it as a song in itself. However, I know you've seen her live 3 times now.
Yeah, so I saw a camp festival at the same time I saw Georgia. I then went to a press signing in Bournemouth, which was awful because she had a really bad flu and did 2 songs only. And then I saw her doing the Joiners last month, and she's very funny. I think that's why she appears with a lot of comedians.
Doesn't surprise me.
Because, she.
And Al Green is in one of her videos.
Exactly, yeah. So I assume that she's kind of dabbles in the comedy world. There's a Sheffield sketch troupe called Seldom Differ, and she's friends with them, and she's appeared in some of their sketches. So yeah, so she's a good watch. She now does dance routines and all sorts of stuff. I think it's quite nice to see someone who's been in an indie band suddenly, appearing on stage doing dance routines in her 30s, thinking, yeah, why not? You want to be a pop star? Go for it.
I mean, but that's what it says in her bio on Spotify, right? Like, let me look it up, because not knowing the story about Slow Club before researching, her bio says, as self-esteem, Rebecca Taylor has shaken off the shackles of her indie band past to become the unapologetic pop star she always wanted to be. So that rings true with what you're saying. And yeah, I think she is incredibly original, and I'd be intrigued to see what she does next. Because I think from the comedy side, I have seen that video with Al Green. I don't know which song it is.
Moody.
And I always like her songs, but I'm not gripped by it. But I imagine that live, with people singing along to these sections with her, it must be quite a powerful performance.
I think the album's got something for everyone. Like, yeah, Moody with Alistair Green is probably the most poppy of the tracks on there. It's got
the video's great.
Yeah,
the video's great. Yeah.
So
even though it wasn't a big fan of the song,
it probably will be in my top 10 of the year.
Okay, well, there we go. And I'm sure the next one will not, because we're moving quite far away from pop at the moment towards Nod. I think that's how I pronounce it. With Pink Champagne Blues. So they're a band or a collective that I've known about since they released the CP called Mirror in 2016. And they're one of those bands that, because they're on the heavier side to what I listen to, I dip in and out because I don't always have the energy or the patience to go and listen. And yeah, it's wild. It's had 30 different members. It's focused around this place called the Islington Mill in Salford. And they even have a Portuguese member called Madalena Ribeiro, who has some songs under the moniker called Negra Branca, and I checked it out on Bandcamp. She sounds great, so represent Portugal. And yeah, I think that while this is quite a heavy, sludgy song, with the verses that only have a bass and drums, there's something melodic about it, and the repetitiveness of the theme, it grows on you. Like I feel like as the song goes on and it switches between the heavier bit and then the faster, more paced parts with the drums and the basically shouting, I can't stop listening to it, and it's sludgy, dirty, intense rock and roll. I would love to see it live. I'm sure that if people know it, they go crazy. And I only just saw the music video, so bizarrely it seems to be like a skateboarding video. And there are these comments like, is this Tony Hawk's new skateboarding soundtrack? I don't think that many people would like it, but I enjoyed it. What did you think?
Well, the first thing, I was shocked that they're British. I just thought American instantly.
Yeah,
and then you got a skateboard video, and again, you think American.
Yeah, true, actually. Yeah.
So that was a surprise. But since I put it on, I just wanted to dance, and I even worked out a dance routine to the song.
Please show me, which will be pointless. But
and I think this would be a dance filler. So yeah, it's not necessarily melodic, but the rhythm isn't.
There's something, right?
Yeah, it's infectious. It got me going. Like Gloria Estefan, the rhythm's gonna get you, the nod's gonna get you, and it got me good. Guilty.
I did not expect, if all the pop stars, Gloria Estefan was not who I expected. I think just the dun 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 dun. It just gets you, and I think because it basically is that interspersed with some very filmic drums and bass, which make you feel like you're running, and then it slows you down again, and then you're back at the dun, and it's just
why not?
Yeah, I really couldn't help myself. So yeah, I'm glad you like it.
You couldn't help yourself.
I couldn't help myself. I had to put it on there. I couldn't help myself.
Okay, so this is my final track. I've got a lot of ladies on my list this year. So we have Hayley Mary, who is the lead singer from the massive Australian band called Jezebels. Jezebels are influenced by, I say, Depeche Mode. and like The Killers, Hayley Murray solo is an indie darling. I know she's covered The Libertines. She seems to be very much into the British indie scene, and the DMAs, who are Australian but they might as well be British because they give them, they're so influenced by British music. Johnny Took co-wrote this song from the DMAs. Yeah, she's been sprinkling singles over the past 2 years. Hasn't actually made an album yet, but she's made 4 EPs. And then I just chose this one because this has got a lot of different layers. Like, it has maybe 2 or 3 choruses. It keeps adding another chorus. And I love the guitar line, and it's very, very hooky. It takes maybe 2 or 3 listens for it to feel right, and then I just loved it. And I wanted to showcase her because I think that she's a great artist, and I think she needs more plays in the UK. Yeah,
you'd mentioned her before, so I wasn't surprised to see her on here. When it started, I thought her voice is pure Stevie Nicks. Like, immediately, I was just like,
most people say Chrissy Hind usually.
Oh, really?
She looks a bit like Chrissy Hind.
To be fair, and I saw the video of this song, and it could be a Chrissy Hind cosplay. That's for sure. Very striking lady, and it's quite funny. Yeah, I kind of hadn't realised that she was Australian, because what I found amusing was that she's talking about Lucozade. So I really enjoyed someone with a kind of Americana-esque style song talking about Lucozade. It just really placed it for me. But unfortunately, as you might have guessed from me saying Americana, it is a little bit too country for me. So despite, I really enjoy the lyrics, and but it just sounds like Jezebel's would be more up my street, being Depeche Mode-esque than what Hayley Murray's doing. But does all of her music sound like this, or is this just a flavour?
It's a flavour. Her latest EP came out last month is different again. It's got Simps in it, so it feels like she's like just bringing out an EP and saying, "Is this any good?" And then maybe she's gonna, when she gets the feedback, to then work out what her album's going to be. Maybe I've seen before, a bit like Florence Machine. Like, her debut album is kind of strange because when she started out, she was a bit more like indie and rocky, like Kiss with a Fist. And then at the end of it, it was like, it's like it was like dance tunes. And I think maybe she's kind of feeling out what is her best approach.
I mean, that's the joy of being able to do that these days, not being bound by an album, being able to do that. And I think it's interesting when you hear artists talking about what is big on Spotify and what isn't. And sometimes you're shocked. So, is it a shame if it's guided by that? Because then it might, shut down one avenue, which might be interesting. Is it not? I don't know. I mean, you've talked about her before, and you seem to be a big fan. So clearly, whatever she's doing is working.
I think she's got a great voice. She's kind of cool. She's fun, and that sounds crap. She's cool. She's fun.
She's cool. She's a fun lady.
Like a 1980s.
Let's go party with Hayley Murray.
1986, guys. What more do you want?
You can use this, Hayley, in your promo if it helps.
So I'm a big fan of Jezebel's, and I think you would be a fan of Jezebel's actually as well, Babs.
Yeah, because we talked about them. Was it in the Primal Scream episode? I feel. Yeah, I need to go check them out. This is a reminder to self, Barbara, when you're putting the players together for this show.
Okay, so your final track.
My final track is Little Sims and Introvert. So this is one of the songs that I only discovered from going onto Release Radar. So I've obviously been very aware of Little Sims, and I'm into quite a few of her songs, especially from Grey Area. That was the album that got me into her. But it's like, someone who I'll listen to the album, save a few songs and listen to it every now and again, and that's it. But this is another level, like, especially when combined with the video. So yeah, Fran, before the episode, I was like, if you're going to watch one video, make this the one that you watch, because I mean, the song has this absolutely epic opener, and it's the opener to her album Sometimes I Might Be Introvert. So it starts with this military drums and brass and choir and synths, and then it moves into, I call it Radiohead guitars. I'd say Ben's era Radiohead guitars, and she's kind of rapping or speak singing, and then so many different things come in. Brass and synths come in every now and again. It's like a recurring theme. Sometimes other women are harmonizing with her. Sometimes the bass comes in, because I think she plays guitar, bass, and drums as well. So I think when there are instruments, it's her singing. It's her playing, sorry. And again, she has lyrics that really grab you. You know, she says, I see sinners in a church. I see sinners in a church. Though I should have been a friend when your grandma died, I see the illness eat my aunt laying in her bed. I see her soul rising as her body gets closer to death. And yeah, it just absolutely blew my mind. And then you watch it with a video, which is filmed in the Natural History Museum. And again, interspersed with all these different elements of people, I'm guessing, from London. And it finishes with the actress Emma Corrin sort of echo speaking over synths and strings with this text about being a woman. It really threw me. And I think, is it her 5th album? I've gone to listen to it. I've not properly got into it yet, but it's really good. I was really surprised.
I was not expecting this. I've known the name Little Sims. I think she was Mercury Prize nominated, was she? I think previously.
Yeah, and she toured with Gorillaz, I think, quite extensively.
So I was expecting, maybe something like Slow Tie or that sort of grimy.
Nope.
No, I was not expecting that fucking production. I was like, oh wow, shit me. I then thought, is this sample from somewhere else? But I think it's actually just been written for the song.
I think so.
Yeah, I put it down. It has Jesus Walks vibes with the military beat.
Interesting. Yeah.
I love the production by Inflow. Yeah, I put down. I would love this even if it had no vocals. I think it sounds brilliant, and lyrically, obviously, it's not going to be about me, but I think the lyrics are fantastic, and yeah, the video really pushes it to a new place, and I think this may be added to my playlist, and I'm intrigued. Is all her songs got this epic, or is this just this one?
No.
Oh, okay.
Not at all. I think so. Selfish from Grey Area, it's such a low-key song.
Oh, really?
I would say it's somewhere between indie and R&B, because yes, I think so. She often plays, I think, bass. Please correct me. So she's always been someone who, of course, there's hip hop elements because she is mostly rapping, but clearly a very musical woman. And I think you said that the producer was Inflow. I think that's someone she's known since school.
Oh, cool.
And they came back together. I think they'd worked together, but they came back together for this. And I think I read an interview in Enemy where she was like, yeah, it's this person who you have this like shared sort of language with. Selfish is, sort of like drums and a bit of bass and some harmonies. This is next level. Like everything, the brass, the harmonies, the choir, even like the shimmering sort of, almost, I don't know, like it's going to sound like I'm denigrating it, but rain stick sounds, but it's more than that. It creates a whole atmosphere. I think of all the songs from my release radar, it's just, immediately I was like, well, I have to include this in my top 10. And a lot of people have included it in their top 2021 songs.
I feel a bit sad that all her music isn't going to be this epic. But hey, I love this.
Honestly, the album, I recommend next going to a song called I Love You, I Hate You, which is about her difficult relationship with her dad. And that, it's really, really good bass, really catchy. I'd go there next. It's not as epic, but it's a nice continuation.
Over underrated 2021 highlights and lowlights.
So I think my highlight of 2021 was the return of the Best of Belgium. So Stromae released a new song, and Angèle released a whole new album. And, they're Belgian icons, and it seems that what they've done just continues to build on what they've done. That's quite exciting. Stupidly, I did not organise myself enough, and even though Stromae is playing 3 nights in Brussels, I don't think I will be able to get tickets, which is a real shame. So I'm going to have to befriend him at my local coffee shop where I see him occasionally. What about you?
My highlights of 2021 was going back to seeing live music. The first time I saw Wolf Alice, and I was in that queue for an hour, and getting in and being surrounded by people with masks on. And then the band came on, and that band, literally, the eyes were so bloody wide. They were so happy to be there, and people were crying all the way through, and the energy, I've not seen anything like it for such a long time. That was a brilliant moment to be there when you see a band playing their first live gig for a year.
I mean, they didn't come up, but I know a lot of people who really like that album.
Oh yeah, and then they were. I think, did they win the Mercury Prize? I think they are one of the biggest bands in the world at the moment as well. So to see them playing my local in Bournemouth, to like 500 people was also pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty special. Yeah, I've only seen one live gig in 2021 because they opened later here, so I will be hoping for that to come back. My low light, I put the fact that Spotify CEO Daniel Ek invested 100 million euros in a defense startup. I feel ever conflicted about Spotify. I think it's just outrageous that he gets so much money and this is what he's spending it on. What so many musicians are protesting against. And I know in the UK there's talks of reforming, and we always say that obviously whatever streaming platform you go on, do keep buying the records and the merch and everything else, because it feels particularly disgusting in 2 years where an already precarious profession has been further downsized because of the lack of live gigs. So that was my low light. You?
Musically, goodness me, what's a musical low light? I guess having barely any international bands coming over. Going to a festival.
Did you feel that?
It did, yeah. Going to a festival, and you could feel, we've gotten quite local. And looking at next year's, again though, they haven't had any international bands. They obviously aren't optimistic. There's no like big American band coming to the UK. It's all UK artists, which is because obviously going to festival, the idea is to discover new things, and it feels like I'm seeing the same band I saw 2 years ago again. And again, it's kind of taints a little bit for me.
And I guess it's twofold, right? It's COVID, but it's also Brexit that just made things so much more difficult. And why go to a country where before you could go with no problems, and now it's more problematic. So yeah, let's see how those political discussions.
Yep.
But yeah, let's not finish on a downer. I think I really enjoyed doing this exercise again as we did in 2020, and I like the fact that it forces you to be forward facing. And I think when I started doing it, I was like, have I discovered that much stuff from 2021? Like, it does feel quite insular. Definitely have a handful of albums that would be my favorites, but is it that much? But actually, okay, I listen to less genres, but I listen to a wide variety of artists, and like you, my playlist could have gone in a number of different ways, but looking at it, it's extremely diverse, and there's a lot of different stuff going on. So thank you, music, for keeping us happy and entertained in another trying year. Yeah, let's hope once again in 2022 we can actually meet each other in person.
Over underrated. Sous-évalué. Überschätzt. Överunderskattad.
And it came to a drastic end, or we chatted too much and forgot to say goodbye. So, from myself and from Babs, thank you for listening. I hope you had a great festive period, and of course, have a happy new year. Let us know your favourite songs of the year. You can do so by checking us out on Instagram, which is over underrated music pod, or on Twitter, which is OU Music Pod. And then obviously you can rate us and subscribe and share and do what all the other podcasts ask. Thanks again, and goodbye.